Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Ellensburg, Washington, USA, home of Central Washington University, headquarters of Cascades A to Z. Thank you for joining us this morning. The local time is 7:49 a.m. Pacific Time, and today's date is my mother's birthday, January 25th, 2025. Mary Zentner, 92 years old today. Happy birthday, Mom, even though you stopped watching these as soon as COVID was done. She said, I'm interested in what you're doing, but I guess I'm not that interested to be tuning in. Young Nikki. All right. We're 5 by 5. We're loud and clear. Thank you so much for the report. Where are you viewing from this morning? And if you're watching in replay, we will begin the program in 12 minutes. Linwood, Washington. Everybody talking to my mother now. I will pass this along somehow to her. San Diego, California. Quincy, Washington. Santan Valley, Arizona. Hello, Rex. Ottawa, Canada. Tasmania. Hello. Port Wing, Wisconsin. Warren, Maine. Squim, Washington today, reports Kevin. Browns Point, Washington. It's chilly, you say. Okay. Yeah, it is 19 degrees Fahrenheit. Not bad compared to many of you, I'm sure. We have sun. We have blue sky. I don't know, should I? Yeah, it's blue, all right. Yeah, early morning sun. It's getting more and more light every day. And I think Nat the Wonder Boy fixed Herky Jerky camera yesterday. So I think we're good there as well. But we'll see once I walk by. Back to live here. Where are you viewing from? Edward is in Spanaway, Washington. Jacob is in Prosser, Washington. John is near John Stockton's house in Spokane, Washington, USA. Kurt of Darrington happens to be in Darrington, Washington. Nina is in Amot, Norway. Hello. Lacey Blue is in Red Rock, Texas. That sounds like you seem like a character from a movie there, Lacey Blue. Ritzville, Washington. Rock Island, Illinois. Alsace, France. Lots of stuff to my mom. Edinburgh, Scotland, birthplace of geology, no big deal. Lava Hot Springs, up to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Edgewater, Florida. Robert, hello. Woke-ass Messiah, good morning from Eugene, Oregon. Cindy's in the Oregon Central Coast. Silesia, West Edge. Downtown, did I see Gary Paul's here? Gary, are you here? I think I just saw your name, Gary. Nice to have you back live, Gary. Rest those legs today now. Come on, son. Kirk is in Sweden. Alberta, Gary, from the eastern edge of the disturbed belt in the sticks, southwestern Calgary. Hi, Gary. We got beaucoup Garys. That's French. Vinman's Bakery with his croissant and bread icon. Good morning, Jeff from Vinman's Bakery. This episode brought to you by Vinman's Bakery. You've got to love it. Malmo, Sweden, that's Philippe. Or Philip. Yeah, Gary Paul is with us. Skagit Ed came over from Skagit country to attend our Tim Melbourne lecture yesterday. It was nice to see you here yesterday, Ed. Okay, great. Looks like we're functional. That's wonderful. I have a gift to share and a request. Just saw this box in my in the mailroom this morning here at school. From Hermiston, Oregon. Nice things, nice things. Michelle and Kevin from Hermiston, Oregon. Thank you. I'll read it. Thank you for bringing geology to the masses and sharing your passion at a level we can all appreciate. Michelle and I have been with you since you were in the backyard with Muffler Boy. And so thank you to Kevin and Michelle. It's an owl mug. Thank you. Thank you. Don't be sad, Kirk. We're just doing this for today. Thank you. I guess this means you want me to talk more about the owl, the Olympic Wallowa lineament, or liniment. I never know how to say it properly. I wish I could, but I still don't know what to say. Thank you for the gift. Shot window cam. Oh, look at that sun. Come on now. Yeah, let's give you that. Let's give you that and that. Isn't that nice? I really do think the campus cops are worried about me. I'm here all the time, on weekends as well. They're like, what is up with that guy? Does he ever go home? Oh, it's just fun putting these programs together. Okay, my request before I take my walk, I'm going to do this quickly. I had this thought this morning walking in. Can you email me, maybe some of you right now, like in the next 20 or 30 minutes? Can you email me? nick@geology.cwu.edu. And in the subject line, in your email that you're going to email me right now, it's going to say location. And then all I would like you to do, if it's possible, if you feel like playing, is to somehow in the next, sometime in the next hour, I guess, can you take a picture of how you are viewing this program? And I would like you, this sounds narcissistic, I would like my head and this shirt to be in your photo. So maybe it's a photo of if I'm on your TV right now and you've got a nice crackling fire going and you've got the cat in the corner, take a shot of the living room with this head on the screen, and I need a location. Like I'm in Baltimore, Maryland. So you're gonna email me a photo of consuming this program in some setting, and then I need to know your location if you're willing to give it. And no names. You don't need to do names. And I think I want to. I think at the end of this program, I want to on CircleCam open my email, and we'll just look at a bunch of the photos. I have a long-term plan for these photos, but it's all come from my question last time, which is, are people, how are you watching these things? And I've gotten, hundreds of emails about, here's how I watch it. I watch it on my iPad, and then I listen to it first, and then I watch it, and then I take my notes. But this goes back a few weeks where I was worried about everybody getting ads, and I guess that's still the case, but I'm not monetized, whatever. But I got a little video clip, and I'm not asking for a video clip, but I got a little video clip from a gentleman in the UK where I was filling his living room with my voice in my head, and that just snapped into focus how global this is. Like, it's one thing to read the names and everything and where you're located, but to see me in your living room or in your kitchen. So bonus points if you're in a different country and you're watching live and you want to just snap a photo of, again, bonus points if you want to be creative about it. You're on your walk and I'm on your phone and you're snapping it, and there's the Norwegian countryside behind her, whatever. It would be a fun little experiment, and that's all I guess I'll say at the moment. I need to take my walk. I hope my request makes sense, and I hope I remember to do this at the end of the episode. I'm sure you'll remind me. Thank you for watching today. I'll probably start a few minutes late because that was longer than I wanted. Hot mic, I'll take my walk. Thank you. Okay. You liked today's show, and you didn't know what you were going to do until late last night and early this morning. So it's scrambled, and don't be nervous about that. It always works out. Please remember that. It always works out. Even though you're especially scrambled and not sure what you're doing. Oh, God, the emails are rolling in already. Sheila from Moscow, Idaho just emailed. Okay. Focus on what you have. Don't be stressed out about what's next. You have it all laid out for yourself. I know it was last minute, but it always works out. It always works out. Remember that. It always works out. So just relax and let it happen. You got to take your walk. Will he be herky-jerky today? Got my keys. A pleasant good morning to you all, and welcome to today's episode entitled Ohanapecosh. Q. Episode Q. Q, the Ohanapecosh. Hardy har har har. Yeah, it's time. We're finally going to Mount Rainier National Park this morning through the magic of photos and video clips. And as recently as early August of last year, just a few months ago, I had no interest and no knowledge of the Ohanapecosh Formation. And a couple of the video clips will show that. Like I'm bored and I'm like barely interested. And then by the time I was done visiting Mount Rainier, and I got in the zone last September and August, I guess, as well. I had just turned 62. I had my little America the... Oh, you want me to see it? America the Beautiful card. In this country, if you turn 62, you can buy a America the Beautiful card. And You buy the thing, and then you can get into all the national parks for the rest of your life for free. One of the perks of being an older person. So, yeah, I took it. I'm so cheap. I would avoid Mount Rainier National Park because it costs money every time to go into the park. So once I got this card, I'm like, God, I got to get my money's worth out of this card. So with each, I think I was going to Rainier twice a week when I got this little card, and Liz is like, wow, you're going up there again? Like, yeah, and I'm more and more interested in the Ohanapecosh. And so that is definitely within our sights today. We are definitely getting to the Ohanapecosh. But you see on the chalkboard, I don't want to start there. Believe it or not, I want to start with the Straight Creek Fault and when it shuts off. And that means we're going to be back talking green M&Ms just a little bit, if you can believe it. And in the most recent episode, 48 hours ago, Taste the Rainbow, Gary Paul, Chilliwack Rainbow. We were doing Skittles, man. We were doing all sorts of colors in the same batholith. So thank you for all the feedback in the live chat. I saw the replay of the last show, plenty of emails, dozens of emails as well. And most everybody says, keep the colors. Keep the colors, they're helpful. If they don't fit nicely into the actual decades, it's okay. We can roll with it. But the color scheme is already established and it's important. So I think right off the bat, let me show you, even before I go to the website, let me show you the latest version. It's official. We're keeping the colors. Thank you. And here's my latest attempt. And it'll also, this is in a way to set the hook for today's episode. So you're like, oh, that looks about the same. Well, there are some differences. First off, in orange, I have added a little bit more detail. The Swamp Siletzia builds out in the ocean. This is all during the 50s, right? Siletzia adds, and the Straight Creek Fault begins. Dark blue, we know. Light blue, we know. But last time I extended 46 to 40. I extended it up to 35 because it still doesn't seem like a whole lot's going on until 35. But 35 is a big date for us today. And you'll notice that I've added 2 shades of green now. So instead of 1 shade of green, I want 2 shades of green. I suggest, at least temporarily, that we have a dark green and a light green. And it's a good example of sticking with the colors, but it's okay. We did it with blue, so why not do it with green? Why not have a dark green and a light green? And you're like, I guess, but like, what's the benefit? Well, that's really what I'm trying to do today. Today, I'm trying to talk about the Straight Creek Fault shutting off, why it might be shutting off, and I don't even know what fault that is. Well, we'll get into it. It relates to the Chilliwack. We'll visit the Squire Creek Pluton briefly with Gary Paul, which we didn't do last time. And then the main thing I want to do today is ask, is it an accident that a major flare-up, the first and biggest flare-up of magma in the Chilliwack batholith, is it an accident that's happening at the same time that this incredibly thick pile of green lavas and breccias are happening down in the Mount Rainier area? And this is coming from the Mullen paper, the Bomb in the Marketplace paper that we looked at last time. I spent more time with those graphs, and I might back away from it, but that's really what I'm going to today. Looking at the Ohanapecosh, but tying it a little bit, at least academically, at least intellectually, with the Chilliwack. So we go back to the revised color scheme. The benefit of dark green and light green is that dark green, I'll just say it verbally, we'll do this a few more times today. Dark green is just a 3 million year span. I think I need it because the Straight Creek Fault abruptly ends 35 million years ago. We'll look at the evidence. The Chilliwack batholith begins, but it doesn't start with a bang. It starts with a whimper, I guess, based on the new dates we have. And the index Pluton, which we looked at last time. You remember that beautiful episode by Gary Paul and Brady Lawrence, the Nick on the Rocks episode that I debuted, which is now up for an Emmy Award, and the Squire Creek, which we'll look at today. So I may get away from this, and it's a short window of time, but dark green, at least today, is going to be these three things. And then 32, I think, is also an important date where we have this magmatic flare-up in the Chilliwack, and that also, I don't think it's a coincidence that the Ohanapecosh fires up. And then you're like, this looks a little different up here. I wouldn't look up here yet. We're not really ready, I don't think. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to go into red full bore yet. So that's still a work in progress in the upper part of that. Okay, so the colors stay. Thank you for your feedback. Okay, finish the intro and let's get into the program. Yeah, we're green here. We might still be green next time because I don't think we're going to finish with some of what I have planned today. So here we are on January 25th. We have one more show in January. This is probably still going to be green, although I'm not sure. And then we'll transition somehow into red. Chris Mattinson, geology professor here at CWU, is speaking live in this building next Friday, January 31st at noon. You're welcome to join us live or even in person if you so choose. Okay, so we might even, so Q is still Ohanapecosh. We might even put, what's after Q? MNOPQR. R might even be here as well before we get ourselves to red time. We know this by now, just reminding the casual viewers that we start the Cascade Volcanic Arc 46 million years ago. We are long done with the breakoff magmas, dark blue, but that will come up a little bit today, surprisingly. And then here we are starting the Volcanic Arc 46, and we realize that this arc is happening all the way till present day, but we don't know how much variability we will have in this subduction factory. Here's what we did last time. We realized that are the colors meaningless? If we have a batholith that has 35 million years worth of rock record and there's all sorts of different colors, we decided, we're going to stick with the colors. And so we have a rainbow Chilliwack batholith. Taste the rainbow. The Snoqualmie batholith has different colors in it as well. I had a stray thought thinking last night. Is it possible that all these batholiths, all these plutons are going to be rainbow eventually? Like, by the time Mike and Isla from the Spirit Lake Pluton are done with it, I'm sure there'll be 3 different colors in that Pluton, the Spirit Lake Pluton. You know what I mean. It's just a question of how many people are wanting to work on these big masses of granitic rock and getting a bunch of dates from different parts of the Pluton. And just to stamp one number on it, which is what we're doing even today, the Chilliwack is maybe a taste of the future. Taste the rainbow, taste the future with the Chilliwack batholith up there to the north. Yeah, last time we got a little bit more specific about introducing many cast of characters. I don't think we'll be this wild today by jumping back and forth between all this stuff. But today's episode, I think is we start thinking about the Chilliwack batholith again with this episode, and then we work our way down to the Tatoosh at Mount Rainier. Mostly these 2 locations with a little bit of Squire Creek thrown in. Okay, I hopefully have set the hook today, and we are ready to roll with the plan. He starts with the Straight Creek Fault. No, he doesn't. He goes to the website before he forgets. It's not Third Person Thursday, but whatever. So this nickzentner.com is the place to go to keep track of all these programs. It's a nice, hopefully convenient way for you to go and find all of these episodes, including I still have these hospital videos, basically. Okay, so that's there. We are done debuting our 8 episodes for the brand new season. That was season 6 that just finished airing all 8 episodes. And I just thought I'd point out that 4 of the 8 this past season were Ice Age related. Glacier at Anacortes, Ancient Lakes, Potholes Coulee, Boulders at Pateros, ice sheet over Seattle. That's not an accident. We filmed those things last summer, and what was I doing in the winter before last summer? Doing Ice Age floods, A to Z, and Brett's. So if it hasn't dawned on you, and in case you're curious about it, how do I decide which episodes we're going to do with the Nick on the Rocks crew, which is just 3 people? Gary, Paul, Brady Lawrence, and myself. Well, I listen to Gary. He's always got specific and good ideas. But in general, I take the previous alphabet and go, let me think about what I just learned this past winter. And that's what's going to happen this summer. This coming summer, when we film 9 new, this summer when we film season 7 of Nick on the Rocks, 8 new episodes, I'll bet you at least 4 of them are going to be cascades because of all this cool stuff we've learned. And I've already got ideas for where we might want to go. Okay. There's nothing in the video library new since last time, so I won't bother going there. But I will go to, you know how to get to the papers. We have 4 papers today. This 2017 paper we will read from together on the subaqueous volcaniclastic facies in the ancestral Cascade Arc of southern Washington state. Yeah, thank you. I don't think we'll get to the Wenatchee stuff. Mount Rainier, it's a huge file, but the Pat Pringle Roadside Geology book, look at how long it is taking to load. You have this whole thing. And Pat did an absolutely outstanding job on this. And you have the digital form, but some of us have this spiral bound thing, which is very handy to just lay flat in the car. And then, so we'll use a little bit of this in the field videos in the next few sessions, as well as this as well, the Newell Campbell 1975. So this past summer, as I was teaching myself the Ohanapecosh, I got some appetizers from those road guides. And then I got very interested in the Ohanapecosh and finally got into the papers to really kind of sink my teeth in there. So, yeah, so you have both the 1975 and, yeah, is that the digital version? Of course it is. Doy. Yeah. Okay, so that's what waits for you there. And there's that Mullen paper still. And the Fisk paper and the map are also going to be used today. Okay, 15 minutes after the hour. He's ready. Let's go. You're like, 15 minutes. You just burned up 15 minutes. No, we're setting the hook. We're talking about the resources available to you. We're giving some context. It's all part of the plan. All part of the plan. I am really loving this alphabet. Can I just say this for a second? There is no controversy. There is no battle of the 2 groups of researchers who are like hating each other. That was 2 winters ago. That was Baja, BC. That was trying to get everybody to have their moment to explain their thinking, but there was obvious communication problems between those research groups. Paleomag versus this versus that. And even last winter with the Brett stuff, there were some young geologists last winter with the Ice Age floods who were not able to publish work because they were being played with politically by the old guard. I didn't say it that blatantly last winter, but that was the subtext of the entire series. And looking at all Brett's old stuff and trying to get the old guys to agree, whatever. We don't have any of that. We have 2 geologists so far this winter who see things differently, but they are humble, well-read, open. They publish together. It's a refreshing change. So that's part of the reason that I'm really enjoying this winter. Plus, episodes like today just kind of naturally fall together, even though I started on it last night. So let's see if this actually works. Okay. Am I done with all that? I think I am. Okay, so I'll keep coming back to this, but this is our new scheme. Okay, well, we know the narratives by now. We've already established the volcanic arc. We're wondering how much mountain scenery we have. We wonder how that whole scene goes. And if we go back, we realize that not everybody agrees that this is the Farallon plate. Many do, but some are wondering if this is the Kula plate instead of the Farallon plate. If you are Jeff Tepper, you like the idea of a green M&M, which is where we have a triple junction, and you like the green M&M migrating north. This is going back a few episodes now. Jeff Tepper's slides 49, 48, 47, 46. 46, we're going to start light blue, and we're going to start the volcanic arc, the Cascade Volcanic Arc. We've already done that. And Jeff just continues to have the Farallon plate sliding northward, and also, remember this? The Farallon plate is sliding, can I do this for you? Is sliding northward, but it's also like the north edge of it is diving down. It's like this three-dimensional thing. It's difficult to visualize, but I can see many reasons for Jeff Tepper's model to work beautifully. But there's elements of Mike Eddy's model that works beautifully for me as well. So I'm not just being nice. I go back and forth going, yeah, Tepper, yeah, I totally see that. And then, oh yeah, Mike Eddy, I totally see that. They're talking about two different things. I'm reminding you of the green M&M debate, but I'm not deeply in love with one and strongly disgusted with the other. And even if I was, I wouldn't say that, but I'm really on the fence between these two things, and maybe it's some sort of combination. I don't know. Anyway, we're reminding ourselves about the green M&M, the triple junction migration to the north, with the Farallon plate going farther and farther north. And that's all to say that in the early days of the Cascades, we don't have a big mountain range, and we definitely do not have a big mountain range during Ohanapecosh time. That's detail that's coming right now. Yes, we are going here, but I don't want to go here right now. I want to go here. I want to go to the Straight Creek Fault. And when I watched the replay of the last episode, a few of you, I noticed in the live Q&A, somebody said, did I miss it? Why did the Straight Creek Fault stop? Why did the Straight Creek Fault shut off? Did I miss that? Did he say it and I was zoning out or something? I didn't get to it. It was part of the plan last time, but I just felt like I was going with the color thing and all that, and I just made the call to stay away from the Straight Creek Fault. But if we're talking about the Chilliwack batholith, we need to think about the Straight Creek Fault at the same time. So how do I have this laid out? Gary's beautiful photo. This is not a thrust fault. This is kind of an oblique shot. So basically everything on the distance, everything away from us on this side of the red line has been moved north, has been shifted north. Summit Chief has been moved north 100 miles north compared to Bear's Breast. That's true. Everything we're looking west. Everything on the west side of the Straight Creek Fault has moved 100 miles compared to stuff on the east side. You'll notice the SWAC is here. The SWAC isn't over there. The SWAC is 100 miles off the screen in Canada to the north, or at least up by Bellingham. Yeah, this is a view from Mount Daniel, which is near Snoqualmie Pass. Mount Daniel will keep coming up, by the way. What's happening here? Oh, hang on. What's the date on this? Okay, I just need to say this out loud. I was working on this slideshow up until a half an hour ago, and I don't think I have the latest version of the slideshow ready to go. I was thrown by a couple of slides, and I don't want to take the time to get my laptop out and switch it all. So we'll just roll with this, okay? But this is a little bit, first time this has happened. I just have to roll with it. Okay, good, let's go. So let's get off the slides since they're not totally the way that I wanted them. These are slides that are like 2 hours old. Okay, let's go to Docky. Let's recover. Okay, So I tried to take this beautiful big piece of paper of the North Cascades, which was created by a former student of mine, Morgan Salisbury, who teaches geology now at Lower Columbia College, I think in Longview. And Morgan put this little blank base map based on the North Cascades, Haggerud, and Tabor map. And he just said, here you go, I just made this for my students. Maybe you'd like to color with it or something. And so he grouped things similarly. So this is a week ago when I was starting to struggle with the colors, and I just colored Chilliwack green, basically, because I didn't know what else to do. But my point is we're going to start thinking about the Chilliwack and the Straight Creek Fault. Okay, slow down and be careful now. Talking to myself. This is a character in the series known as the Straight Creek Fault. We've brought it up on occasion, and we're hitting it hard today. What's the Straight Creek Fault? It's a strike-slip fault in Washington that goes right through the heart of the Cascades. Oh God, really? Is it active today? No, it is not, thankfully. It's not active today like the San Andreas Fault is. The San Andreas Fault today is a strike-slip fault. It's also a major plate boundary between the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate. And there's geology on both sides of the San Andreas Fault in California that tells us that tens of millions of years ago, the granite of the Sierra Nevada batholith, come on, was like this. And over the last 25, 30 million years, there's been something like 300 miles of offset on the San Andreas Fault in California. The bad news is this thing's still active. We don't know when the next earthquake is going to happen on the San Andreas Fault. The last huge one was 1906 in San Francisco, where a large section of the San Andreas Fault ruptured simultaneously. So it's been a while, but Washington has a San Andreas Fault. It's called the Straight Creek Fault. But we don't have to lose sleep over the Straight Creek Fault in Washington because it's no longer active. And you're like, what's your evidence? We have a big San Andreas-like fault. It's called the Straight Creek Fault. Good God, really? Why shouldn't I be worried about it? The answer is the Chilliwack batholith and the Snoqualmie batholith and probably the Bumping Lake Pluton, but I'm not sure of that, are not broken by the fault. This is Geology 101 now. When the Straight Creek Fault was active, it was acting just like the San Andreas Fault in California today. A total of 100 miles of offset. Now, these numbers are not exactly correct based on some new stuff we have from Bob Miller and Mike Eddy. But the same kind of every few centuries, there's a major earthquake and there's shifting of the crust on one side of the fault compared to the other. I mean, it is pretty pleasing and pretty elegant and pretty simple comparing the San Andreas Fault with the Straight Creek Fault, with California versus Washington. But again, Geology 101, we know this is not a concern anymore because this Straight Creek Fault has been dead for 35 million years. And I always can see the students in the room who are learning this for the first time, like, and then I go, it's been dead for 35 million years. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's like one less thing I have to worry about. Yeah, but what's the evidence that the Straight Creek Fault has been dead for 35 million years? And the answer is, wrong colors, the Straight Creek Fault enters the Chilliwack batholith and it comes out on the other side. I'm not going to dash that. I'm going to make this nice and solid. And you're like, well, I don't know. Is that evidence that the Straight Creek Fault has been dead for 35 million years? And I'm like, yeah, that's how we use logic with the North Cascades. The Straight Creek Fault, the Chilliwack batholith, as rainbow as it is, has not been broken in the least by the Straight Creek Fault. And if the Straight Creek Fault was broken even just a little bit, then that would be evidence that the Straight Creek Fault formed, that the Chilliwack batholith formed and then got broken. It has not. The older batholiths have been broken by the Straight Creek Fault. Okay, I think you're getting my point. I don't think we need to belabor it anymore. I want to show this as well. This is yet another thing with the colors wrong, but here's the Chilliwack batholith. Here's the Snoqualmie batholith. You can see in real life how difficult it is to trace the Straight Creek Fault. It's not quite as simple fat black line, but it does disappear into these younger plutons. Okay, so we have that, right? The Straight Creek Fault shuts off. But I'm going to stick with Docky to bring on the green M&M and think about why. Why did the Straight Creek Fault shut off? Now that we know that it did 35 million years ago because the Chilliwack batholith has not been broken by the Straight Creek Fault, how do we actually know the thing actually was broken? Okay, here's where I hope the slides are still in some semblance of order. Getting a little gun shy now. So Jeff Tepper, in that blue ribbon email from Tuesday morning, says the earliest Chilliwack plutons stitched the Straight Creek Fault. They are the constraint on when it stopped moving. Is it a coincidence that this magmatism is coincident with the cessation of the slip? I don't know. The volcanic arc had already been active for almost 10 million years' time. So we cannot say that the slip on the Straight Creek Fault stopped when the volcanic arc turned on. But maybe at a more local scale, there is a link, ? In Mike Eddy's, I know I read this to you last time, but I'm doing it again because we're about to use demo time with the green M&Ms. In Mike Eddy's model, this might be explained by having the triple junction pass by at this time. So there is a change in the subducting plate from the Kula to the Farallon. But the Kula vector is nearly parallel to the margin. So I cannot see how that plate would subduct at all, regardless of where the triple junction was located. Okay. Well, let's see if this works for you. I'm a little flustered by my slides not being as updated as they should be, but I think we're good. There is a green M&M today. It's right here. And technically, the green M&M works best, a triple junction works best for our discussions when there's a spreading ridge subducting. So there's a near trench magma inboard here as well. Okay, that's today. But we just looked at Jeff Tepper's slides saying that green M&M has not always been north of Vancouver Island. According to Jeff Tepper's model, verbally, the green M&M has been slowly marching northward since 50 million years ago, and today it's up in Canada. You remember Mike Eddy's model? Please have the slides. Not quite ready. So the birth of the Straight Creek Fault is 49.3 million years ago. That's immediately as Silesia accretes. So we kick off, we form the Straight Creek Fault, and we start earthquakes forming on the Straight Creek Fault as Silesia accretes, 49.3 million years ago. This is the North Cascades team. But now we get to Mike Eddy's major message. And he's saying, if I have a bunch of If I have a bunch of strike-slip faults with dextral or right lateral motion on them, and there's tons of slip, there's tons of earthquakes, there's tons of the west side of the fault moving north compared to the east side of the fault. If I have that, Mike Eddy says, I want the Kula plate to be offshore, not the Farallon. Can you see how we're bringing the green M&M back? We're trying to answer, why did the Straight Creek Fault start when it did, and when did it end when it? Why did it end when it did? Full disclosure, in this particular case, with this particular question, I favor Mike Eddy's yo-yo. Let me remind you of the green M&M doing a yo-yo down and south. So the green M&M was originally, according to Mike Eddy, up here to explain some of the near trench magmas at like 51. That's not on this slide. But remember, everybody agrees that there was a subducting spreading ridge in the green M&M at Vancouver Island 51 million years ago. And then the main difference between Mike and Jeff is that Mike says, I need this green M&M to go way the hell down here to southern Oregon at the southern tip of Silesia, mainly because I have not only the Straight Creek Fault forming 49.3 million years ago, but I have a bunch of other strike-slip faults as well. And you remember Jason McClowery down in Baker City, Oregon, saying, yeah, there's a compelling case that we have a bunch of active strike-slip faults even into the Clarno here at about the same time. So some of you are ahead of me. Let's try it here. Mike Eddy is saying that I'm going to have motion happening on the Straight Creek Fault, which is the Fraser River Fault on the Canadian side, by the way. Same fault. I'm going to start this thing after we accrete Silesia, and I'm going to kill the Straight Creek Fault 35 million years ago because I have 35 million year old near trench magmas on Vancouver Island, and I'm going to keep this Straight Creek Fault active and cranking out earthquakes as long as I have the green M&M south of the Straight Creek Fault. So 48 million years ago, 42 million years ago, 35 million years ago now, Mike has the green M&M out of the States, and it's then and then only when he shuts off the Straight Creek Fault. Because I think most of you know, and that's what I was going to do with the Docky, if I'm losing you, remember that the green M&M with Mike Eddy in particular says that the Kula plate is north, the Farallon plate is south, and so if we have the green M&M down here at 48 million years ago, then we can do all sorts, I've done this with you before, we can do all sorts of right lateral strike-slip faulting because we have the Kula plate offshore of all of these faults. But that's 48. And then as this thing starts migrating north and we get to 42, then I guess we kill these. So Jason McClowery, if you're still watching these, when you finally get geochronology on your strikes, I don't mean it that way, if you can find some geochronology on these faults to prove that these faults shut off at a certain time, wouldn't it be fun to see that these strike-slip faults in Oregon shut off before these? Because according to Mike's logic, these need to be shut off by 42. And even the Straight Creek Fault itself will shut off at 35 because the Kula is now out of the picture. Did I miss it? Did he say why the Straight Creek Fault shut off? No, you didn't miss it. I didn't say it last time. That was my attempt to say it just now. Let's move on. So, Straight Creek Fault ends, the Chilliwack begins, the Index and the Squire. Good. So that's what I like about dark green. We're not only killing the Straight Creek Fault, but we're also cranking up the Chilliwack. Is that an accident? Why is this batholith starting, even though it's not going great guns? Why is it starting as soon as the Straight Creek Fault ends? What's the connection there? Are we transitioning from the Kula to the Farallon? Is the Chilliwack marking the beginning of the Farallon plate subduction if you listen to Mike Eddy's model? I hope you can see the connection between the green M&M and the Chilliwack and the Squire Creek and the index. Whether you can or cannot, let's move on. We got to get to the Ohanapecosh. Chilliwack begins, index. These are minor flare-ups compared to what's coming in just a bit. So Gary, Paul, with us today in the live chat. Yeah, we've got Chilliwack that I guess should be dark green now, Gary. No big I don't need you to make these again. But yeah, we're older than 32. So this is kind of the warm-up Chilliwack batholith. We're reading subtle stories now out of these colors. The index, which is slightly, this also is darker, dark green. This is before we totally kill the system. And yeah, this should be dark green now because the index is before 32. It's older than 32. Kalamazoo Gary giving us this. The Vesper Pluton, which we are not visiting, and the Squire Creek Pluton, which we are about to visit, are all part of this dark green story. We'll see if we all like the dark green distinction. I think that's what we're going to do. Now, do you need a reminder? From Jeff Tepper, we know we have good Cascade volcanic arc magmas, not only from spidergrams and other things like that. We've got it from hornblends in the rocks, hydrous minerals, and mafic enclaves. We have both in the Squire Creek Pluton. Let me show you a quick map where we're going, and then we'll go. Let's go to the Squire Creek Pluton, very close to Gary Paul's house in Darrington, Washington. I drove up there just for a morning. I think it was a Sunday morning, and Gary says, I've just got a few hours. Where do you want to go? And I'm like, wherever you want to go. He says, I'll take you to Squire Creek. I think Squire Creek Pluton might be important for you this coming winter. And we know that Squire Creek Pluton is dark green now. Also, the index, dark green. Gary Paul.
8 hours? Or... Yeah. Then the other thing is that Jeff was pointing out were these guys.
Oh my God. The first one you pick up, it's got a mafic enclave in it?
It's got a mafic enclave.
He wasn't kidding. Yeah, so mafic enclave, and as I was remembering from that video, he was talking about each enclave has a slightly different look. Sometimes they're almost kind of ghost outlines, you know.
Where they kind of blur the edges?
Blur the edges, right. And sometimes they're very sharp. I don't know if that one's kind of middle of the road. And then these appear to be a bunch of hornblends, which was also something that Tepper was talking about. So according to Tepper, and maybe you, I don't know, you took geology at UW, this is a classic subduction-related magma, apparently. Did you know that, Gary?
I didn't know that. I thought
I didn't either.
I saw I've seen these things before, and to me, xenoliths. It was something that fell off the wall and floated down in through the mush. And finally got stuck there.
Well,
might have melted some around the edges or not, depending on conditions.
Right.
So that was all news to me. Well, you don't have to go very far to find another one.
I mean, you've done trail work with these things.
Well.
Yeah, like you've seen mafic enclaves for your whole career.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I've only seen xenoliths.
Right.
Now I see.
So it's just a leap forward for so many of us, including a guy like Gary who has worked this rock and these trails for so long on both sides of the Cascades. Come on, Gizmo. Yeah, so in the shade, maybe we can even, oh God, that is a beauty. And here's some of this exchange business where I know this is your video, Gary, but I'm talking about Tepper.
Well, that's good. He's
I think he was talking about this fluid exchange between these two guys when they're both molten.
So that are making the plagioclase in there?
Yeah, so like these minerals are soaking in, or the elements are soaking in, and so there's this. That's pretty dramatic. Ha. Thanks again, Jeff Tepper, for tipping us off on the importance of those mafic enclaves. I still don't totally understand the physics and the chemistry, but they are pretty damn cool. And those shots with Gary were particularly helpful. Let's keep going. Let's follow the breadcrumbs. We're getting to the main act, which is our Chilliwack flare-up at the same time that we have Ohanapecosh green lavas and pyroclastic flows happening down south in Mount Rainier National Park. Are we together? Are we locked in? We're kind of setting the stage for the Ohanapecosh, and we're ready to dive in right now. To what color? Light green, as opposed to dark green. Let's go. Yeah, now the green is light green because we have started the massive magmatic flare-up in the Chilliwack. Ignore that. We're just looking at the green Chilliwack. But the distinction is now we are younger than 32. And I think I like the narrative that we just keep looking for Chilliwack younger than 32. 32 is a big date for us. 32 is the start of the massive Chilliwack magmatic flare-up, and 32 million years ago is the start of these crazy green lavas in the South Cascades, known as the Ohanapecosh. Is that an accident? It might be. Younger than 32. These are photos from last time. That's why I'm going quickly. Yeah, so I think an emerging narrative is this major Chilliwack flare-up 3 million years after the Straight Creek Fault quits. And tying these two things together may eventually be a mistake, but right now I really am wondering openly and enthusiastically if we can think of both of these things together as opposed to this thing being totally separate from this. I mean, did you watch the last episode to the very, very end? I think even after the live questions, before I did a toast to you, I said something like, I'll do it verbally, is it possible that the green lavas of the Ohanapecosh were in northern Washington and into Canada even, while the major Chilliwack magmatic flare-up was happening, starting 32 million years ago? 32 to 26 is this major Chilliwack magmatic flare-up. Were there green Ohanapecosh lavas as far north as southern BC? And you're like, of course not. They're only exposed down at Mount Rainier. And I say, there's been a hell of a lot of uplift in the North Cascades. Isn't that a cool visual? That we could have 15,000 vertical feet of Ohanapecosh stratigraphy that was present up by Mount Baker, and it's just gone? You're like, I don't remember my professor saying that. Now, we're just asking questions, man. We're just asking questions. It could be a dead end. It could be totally inappropriate. But that's what we're really trying to tantalizingly connect with. What? Yeah. So this is from the Mullen paper. The major paper that continues to give us gifts. Let me find it. Emily Mullen, who I saw in the live chat, Jeff Tepper said she's not from France. She was just doing a postdoc in France. So, Jeff, where is Emily? Maybe I should talk to Emily. If we continue to love her paper, where's Emily Mullen? Can we talk to her about her paper? I'm getting the plot that we're going to talk about right now from here. And there's a chance that I'm grasping here, that I'm reaching, that I'm making a major narrative out of almost nothing. But I think I'll show it. No, I think I'll show it to you as I first looked at it. And I started wondering by staring at these plots yesterday afternoon. And let me show you more specifically what Emily has plotted. I don't know, Jeff, maybe you were part of this plot. Here's what Emily's saying. I'll just say Emily, even though it's her team. South of the Chilliwack batholith, in other words, in the Washington Cascades south of Mount Baker, there's not a bunch of plutonic stuff going on. We just looked at Squire Creek and Index. That's here. That's dark green time for us. But this is the light green time, 32 to 26. And all I'm trying to ask is it a coincidence that this lack of plutons at Mount Rainier is roughly the same time that we have the huge magmatic flare-up in the Chilliwack? That's all I'm asking. Move it along. Yeah, so I just did it to you verbally. Now I forgot I labeled this. Dark green, not a whole lot of Chilliwack going on. Light green, huge flare-up in the Chilliwack, huge flare-up, I guess, of lavas. And I'm saying lavas, but we're going to see that the Ohanapecosh are not lavas. They're a bunch of submarine, crazy, explosive stuff that I'm still trying to figure out. What does Jeff say? Emily Mullen got her PhD at UW with Stu McCallum, working on Mount Baker. Okay, I got to find her. Thank you, Jeff. So the Ohanapecosh is where we go, and this is south of Mount Baker. And thanks to Tom from Maple Valley, we're starting to look at maps now of the Ohanapecosh. Congratulations, you made it to this portion of the program where we're talking about the Ohanapecosh. Finally. It's 10 minutes to the top of the hour. This is a good half an hour on the Ohanapecosh. You ready? Thank you, Tom, for making this beautiful map. We have Ohanapecosh as far north as the Snoqualmie Pass area, and for all I know, that photo, where was that photo, Gary? Is this north of Snoqualmie? It probably is, huh? I don't know where Mount Garfield is, or Dog Mountain, but so we have a little bit of, Gary, in the live chat, are we north of Snoqualmie Pass right now? Are we north of I-90? And it's just an interesting point, like how far north is our most northern scrap of the Ohanapecosh? Gary's in the live chat. Fife's Peak, yes. Can't think of Ohanapecosh north of Stevens. But Gary's got some of the green. We can extend it a little bit farther north. That's not a slam on you, Tom. That's just trying to think as creatively as possible. And we're going to go as far south as the Columbia River Gorge at some point in the series. But there is green Ohanapecosh in the innermost guts and gorge in the core of the Columbia River Gorge. Lindsay Malone, thank you. We're starting to get the look of the Ohanapecosh. Lots of Ohanapecosh now coming. Tom again from Maple Valley. He says, I'm screwing around just around my home turf in Maple Valley. And there's little scraps of Ohanapecosh all over the place. And there's often a greenish tinge. I'm putting words in your mouth now, Tom. Greenish tinge to these stuff. And before August, I would have just said, oh, these are just a bunch of lavas. Who cares? Like it's a bunch of Cascade lavas. There's more to the story. And that's why I fell head over and heels in love with the Ohanapecosh Formation by the time we got to Halloween. Photos from Tom from Maple Valley, who's becoming a major contributor, a Greater Seattle correspondent. Thank you, Tom. Okay. I got interested enough in the Ohanapecosh that I started looking carefully for specific papers. And I found a couple that were particularly helpful. Green. Utzler. Okay. So you have this one. It's a field trip guide. I'm just going to say Utzler. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Martin. I'm just going to say Utzler. And this was an international field trip. And Martin, I think, lives in Tasmania, if I'm not mistaken. But I think I want to just read a few passages to introduce everybody to the details and some of the just kind of basic stats about the Ohanapecosh Formation. Let's do it. I'm going to zoom way in now. We're going to look at this in a bit. Maybe not today, but next time. Focus, please. The Ohanapecosh Formation, in the broad sense, groups broad volcaniclastic facies that are Eocene-Oligocene in age and thought to record an early stage of volcanism in the Cascade Arc. We know Fisk, we know Jutzler now. The formation covers an extremely wide area between Snoqualmie area to the north and the Columbia Gorge to the south. They interpret this formation to mark the end of the Eocene strike-slip faulting and magmatism of the Cascade Volcanic Arc. So that's another way to say it. That we had, between 49 million years ago and 35 million years ago, the age of strike-slip faulting. That's one of the main messages from the North Cascades team, that dextral strike-slip faulting, transtensional basins, Chumstick, all these basins are filling, all these sandboxes are being filled with sediment from uplifted blocks, the geologic elevator going up, all that stuff. There's a specific window when those faults were going apeshit in northern Washington. And in the series with light green, that's done. That's done. Marks the end of the strike-slip faulting and magmatism of the Cascade Arc. Magmatism? The Ohanapecosh is more than 800 meters thick. What's that? More than 2,000 feet thick. Exposed across a big area, greater than throughout Mount Rainier National Park. And it's the basement upon which Mount Rainier volcano was built. 32 to 26. The contact between the Ohanapecosh and the Puget group is conformable and commonly gradational. Okay, I doubt we will get to this today, but I think I want to look casually at a very nice diagram that takes our prior look at the Puget group, which we're going to do more next time, I think, and have that be the stuff immediately below the Ohanapecosh. So I've colored this all up. If my slideshow is recent enough. God, I'm so flustered by that. Here's the Ohanapecosh, Ohanapecosh, Ohanapecosh. Good. We're going from like the Cascades into western Washington and then over to eastern and central Washington. But the point is, in Rainier Park, the Ohanapecosh is sitting right on top of the Puget group. And so these units that we have flirted with are the substrate for the Ohanapecosh. There's all sorts of narratives emerging from the colored slides that I have for you, hopefully today. Am I going to read more from Jutzler? I think I am. If it's Jutzler or something, I apologize. Ohanapecosh is overlain by the Stevens Ridge member, which is part of the Fife's Peak. Okay, we're not ready for that. That's red. Let's do a little bit more here. All original volcanic glass and most of the original ferromagnesium and plagioclase phenocrysts have been replaced by secondary minerals in the Ohanapecosh Formation. The alteration has been attributed to higher temperatures and pressures associated with deep burial, that's interesting, and contact metamorphism from plutons, especially the Tatoosh and the Snoqualmie. That's interesting. So the Ohanapecosh looks funky in part because it was buried and then has been brought back to the surface, and also because it's been cooked, because right next door are these massive blobs of younger magma coming up through them. Stay tuned on those threads. Most volcaniclastic beds are dominated by angular pumice clasts and fiamme, which are pumice clasts flattened during diagenesis, of intermediate composition. Very thick to extremely thick and very thin to thick beds are laterally continuous. If you go up to Chinook Pass and Cayuse, which we're about to do, they're mostly composed of extremely thick, graded, matrix-supported pumice and fiamme-rich beds that commonly include a coarse basal breccia. All I'm trying to give you the impression is, terrible grammar, these aren't just lava flows like I originally thought they were. If you get on your hands and knees, there's incredible detail. And I think I need to go to the video clips sooner than later. Let me just do a little bit more of this. Yeah. Yep, that's enough. I think we need to see it in photo form and in video form. The Ohanapecosh. Let's go. Oh, I did. Here it is. So I'm loving this. I'm going to use this a lot. This is going to keep coming back. You don't have to freeze frame this. I'm going to just keep bringing this in. And I think next time we're going to get into a bunch of stuff coming in from Aaron Donaghy and Rob Veens and Tom and a few others and Daryl Gussie. I don't know if that's going to come today or not. But we're going to go back in time because there's details are emerging that I didn't have a week ago or 2 weeks ago. But we are up here now just getting introduced to the Ohanapecosh, and I want you to notice apparently this quote-unquote Ohanapecosh is correlative with a lot of time at least, but maybe even some of the Ohanapecosh morphs into other things as you go east and west. And yes, the Ohanapecosh eruptions are happening when sea level is right there. And I think quite often you have eruptions of some kind of volcano forms at the coast of Washington between 32 and 26 million years ago. This is from Yutzler. And yet a bunch of this stuff is dumping into the ocean. So WP is White Pass, and C is Chinook Pass and Cayuse Pass. So it's this kind of near shore, offshore, onshore business. That's the kind of detail you can pull out of the Ohanapecosh and equivalent units. And need I remind you, this stuff is now high in the Cascades, where everybody's on vacation, taking pictures of Mount Rainier, up at the crest of the Cascades, and yet these rocks record a non-mountainous scene? That's one of the many reasons I'm into the Ohanapecosh, baby, and I want you to be too. You don't have to. I'm encouraging you to be interested. Yeah, Mount Rainier is the centerpiece, and it takes 2 hours for me to drive from Ellensburg up over Chinook, and before I know it, I'm into these green rocks that dominate the eastern half of Mount Rainier National Park. Special request, I asked Tom from Maple Valley yesterday, could you toss in the Tatoosh as well? Even though we're not ready for the Tatoosh Pluton, it's a younger, right, red, the colors are helpful, hopefully. It's a younger Pluton that's going to invade from below and cook some of the Ohanapecosh. So yeah, Chinook Pass here, Cayuse Pass, Chinook Pass here, Cayuse Pass here, White Pass here, Snoqualmie Pass up to the north, Seattle way the hell up here, Ellensburg up off. There's a lot going on, and we are going to be here the rest of today. Tom, taking a hike after watching some of my videos and getting interested in late summer, taking the Natchez Peak Trail and looking carefully at the boundary between Ohanapecosh, our focal point today, and Tatoosh, that's coming. And bumping Lake Pluton, that's coming down the road. And Tom says this is an easy contact to get to if you're interested in going to that tarn, which is a lake. It's in the previous picture. I don't know the name of this lake, but it's that sourdough, whatever. Natchez Lake? I don't know. Tom is hiking Tom is hiking Natchez area. Right in here, I guess. I can't find Tipsoo Lake. I guess Tom is hiking here. Thank you, Tom, yet again. Okay, this is the look of a guy who doesn't give a shit about the Ohanapecosh. October 2nd. Mount Rainier in all of its glory. This is going to be embarrassing, but I'm going to show a couple of clips where I have no idea what I'm looking at. But I want to show you my personal growth with the Ohanapecosh in the span of 6 weeks, late last summer.
We're a couple miles west of Chinook Pass now, in Mount Rainier National Park. I cannot use my hammer. And yes, we are at it again. We're still using a geologic road guide over Chinook, White Pass, and Ellensburg to Yakima highways, Newell Campbell, 1975. And thanks to the viewers, I have found digital copies of both this and this, Roadside Geology of Mount Rainier National Park and Vicinity, Patrick Pringle. We're going to use this one as well a little bit. So if you go to nickzentner.com, go to the upper right-hand corner, see the word Cascades, click on that word. That will get you to the digital versions of these road guides. You can download them, you can print them out yourself, take them up here like I've done, and play it along. So I've stopped at a cute little place, and I'm pretty sure we are at layered volcanics of the Ohanapecosh Formation visible along the roadway. The Ohanapecosh here is made up of volcanic breccias and andesite flows. Okay, if you saw the video that I called Chinook Pass a couple weeks ago, I was frustrated, and I don't have a hammer, but maybe we can see something that looks a little bit more truly Ohanapecosh Formation. Okay, let's give you a lay of the land. This is still 410, and it does the switchbacky thing. So there's 410 right up there. So this camper is going to be working its way down around the hairpin and coming down and going right past us. There's a side that says rocks. That means we're in luck. Wildflowers are out. I don't know, let me just zoom across the road, not go over there. You just videotape from over here. Interesting kind of flowy textures. And yeah, they used dynamite to put the road in, whatever year that was. But I'm seeing a beautiful greenish look to this rock that I've always meant to stop at. Here's our friend coming around the corner. Oh, come on, I want to look at the outcrop. Look both ways, boy. Paintbrush and other flowers, I don't know. Okay, without knowing any better, I would just think this is an andesite lava flow. That's from the Ohanapecosh Formation, which means that it's not lava that came out of Mount Rainier. It means it's a lava flow that came out of a stratovolcano, probably similar in size and scale to Mount Rainier, but is no longer around. A ghost volcano, in other words.
What an idiot.
Part of the Ohanapecosh Formation. Now, I'm a work in progress, but I thought Ohanapecosh meant we are subaqueous. That doesn't mean these thick lava flows, these thick green lava flows erupted underwater, does it? I mean, that might be why we have.
Aaron Donaghy's in the live chat. Nice to see you, Aaron. Let's keep going. I'm hoping with these clips to show an evolution in thought and a change in interest as the weeks go on. Keep it going.
Yeah, Ohanapecosh Formation, I don't know. I guess I'm supposed to be excited. There's thousands and thousands of vertical feet of this stuff. It's got a greenish tint to it. It's still mostly, well, it's kind of sparkly here. So until I'm forced to get fancier, I want to be as simple as possible. I'm just thinking of these as green andesite lava flows. And what I'm struggling with is why we have such well-developed, thick lavas that certainly look like they were deposited above water. And yet I thought the main story of the Ohanapecosh was that we are not in the high Cascades when this stuff is being erupted. We're down at sea level. And apparently there's some lake beds, sedimentary lake beds in this road cut to help us put that story together. But remember...
Okay. Flash forward a few weeks. I actually started reading some papers instead of just a couple of road guides. So reading the papers opened up the world to me. And it's all right at the base of Mount Rainier. So this is a spectacular morning. At that point, I was getting up at 4:30, leaving the house at 5, getting through the gate into the park, National Park, right? Mount Rainier National Park by 7 or 7:30. I had the place to myself for like 3 hours. And I would just keep going up that early because I lived close enough and I had the interest, and the high pressure was just so beautiful weather-wise that I'll never get over those trips. At one point, I said, Hannah Shamloo, Jordan Carey, you're coming. Bring Fuji the dog. Let's go. So we spent a whole day up there without filming, but I was so buzzed, so intoxicated by the geology in this beautiful natural laboratory. And one of the major hooks, not with Mount Rainier itself, but with these green rocks that everybody blows right by, the Ohanapecosh. This is one of my favorite clips, even though I have no idea the detail that I'm looking at. I'll make this a little bigger. Hang on. Make this a little bigger. Okay, stop, go. Well, now that I've struggled a little bit with the Ohanapecosh and all the fine-grained particles, I don't know what this green is. Is this olivine? It's kind of cool. Some little green. Wow, what is that? I'll have to read. Oh yeah, this is really nice.
So we're down to this level of detail. I think there's 3 units that are possible just generally on this section of the Sunrise Road. I think we have to be in Ohanapecosh. The other choices are Burroughs Mountain andesite, no, and Sunrise Pluton or the Greater Tatoosh Pluton, no. So we're definitely in Ohanapecosh here, but man, these are cute. I don't really know what I'm looking at. They look like little olivine blocks. I'm going to stop talking. I don't really know what I'm looking at. But this kind of orientation is interesting. Remember, this is the stuff that's down at sea level. What am I looking at? Little like olivine xenoliths like rolling around in a bunch of shattered flattened pumice. My God. And you're like, where are you? Some hands and knees thing? No, man, I'm still at the same spot. Can you see why there are some stories that are often overlooked?
Okay, I think I want to read some detail. And let me peek at my. Let me just do this quick. These slides are so screwed up. I want to do this. Sorry for the improv. I'm still flustered by my slides not being exactly the way that I want them to be. Let me skip to this and show you some detail from the Yutzler paper that will give a little bit more geology instead of me just going, I don't know what I'm looking at. So geologists do know what they're looking at. These are detailed photos inside of the Ohanapecosh, even microscope slides, the petrographic microscope stuff. So I'm just going to read, even though I barely know what I'm doing here. But this is another way to teach about the incredible detail locked into the Ohanapecosh. Magnified images of slabs near White Pass, coarse volcanic breccia with fine pumice clasts and fiamme. Fiamme is F. Dense clasts, D, dark green and brown, and vesicular basalt, BAS. Another detailed photo inside of the Ohanapecosh, graded or massive volcanic breccia at the base of the Ohanapecosh with dark fiamme and pumice clasts, that's P, red dense clasts, D, in a pale green matrix. Near Cayuse Pass, where we just were, base of normally graded, dense, clast fiamme breccia with sub-rounded dark gray and brown dense clasts in a gray matrix. I mean, I don't know some of these terms that well. That might be folks in the live chat helping you out, or you just kind of Googling certain terms if you're really that interested. I don't have the detail in my head for you. But this is my way to show you that this kind of detail is present and is known. Middle facies of normally graded fiamme dense clast breccia with fiamme, that's F, and dense clasts, white and gray, D, in a gray matrix. Fiamme, F, broken feldspar crystals, XL, and a matrix of middle of normally graded fiamme dense clast breccia near Cayuse Pass. So the point is, they're not simple lava flows, which was my thought in early August. For sure, they're not simple lava flows. And even the choice by Newell Campbell in 1975 to just say, well, we got a bunch of andesites and some breccia. You make your choices when you're talking to the general public, but we're trying to find a certain level in the geology that we're communicating that's more than just a generic thing. It's a couple steps up, for sure. Okay, I'm scrambling again because the slides are not in the order that I want them to be. I have a couple more clips of the Ohanapecosh, and then I have an exciting thing before we quit involving a few of the viewers, involving some of the older stuff that sits beneath the Ohanapecosh. I hope I have this. What did we just look at? Yeah, this one. This will get us into it. Thank you. This is the last of the detailed Ohanapecosh video clips from Mount Rainier this summer.
I think the part of the trick here is looking at this stuff under a microscope. But here's an interesting block. Lighting's pretty good on this, right? Vesicular basalt clast swept up into this story. But I think the message is a lot of the clasts are these little greenish guys. This doesn't look like pumice to me, but whatever. I guess maybe it's been altered by this Miocene sill. It's been cooked, in other words, a little bit. Here's a fresh looking surface. Yeah, I'm starting to see the detail here. So I can guess, please don't quote me on this, I can guess that this is a series of explosions, and this stuff is so solid, not because it's a lava flow, but because it's this very explosive series of events, and then there's so much heat that you weld this stuff together. This is like a welded tuff, I think. And yeah, now that I look, I can see more and more of these. Like, where's the basalt coming from?
Where's the basalt coming from? Okay, this is how we're going to finish today's episode. I was hoping, I've reminded you of this a couple of times, I was hoping that geologists would watch these programs and start talking to each other and collaborating, informally or even formally. And that's been happening in this case. So, this basalt chunk and others like them in the Ohanapecosh, and a video I haven't showed you yet, but I was with Hannah Shamloo in September looking, do you remember this one? A huge pile of ash in the Goat Rocks area. And down at the base, I zoomed in with the camera. I'm sorry, I don't have the video clip ready. And it looked like there was a bunch of basalt down below the Devil's Horns ash stuff. And in both videos, this one that we're just looking at, and in that Hannah Shamloo video, we're like, that's basalt down there. What basalt is that? And my thought originally was, and Hannah's thought originally was, well, that must be the basalt of Summit Creek. And then a few weeks later, as I was editing that video with Hannah, I emailed her and said, is it possible the basalt of the flood basalts, the Columbia River basalt lavas, got that far into the Cascades? And maybe those basalts beneath your Goat Rock stuff is CRB? Is Yakima basalt? We haven't gotten to that part of the alphabet yet. But one of the geologists who's been watching this winter, skip, is Daryl Gussie. Daryl Gussie. And we included Daryl in one of the Nick on the Rocks episodes in the olden days. And there's the Goat Rocks, and Daryl knows the Goat Rocks wilderness better than anybody. Daryl will keep coming back in this series as we get younger and younger. The Tieton andesite flow is a big part of this. Got an email from Daryl, and he included Jeff Tepper, and it's been a series of emails from Daryl. Let me read it quickly. Daryl, hey, Jeff Tepper and Nick. Hannah Shamloo made some quick plots, compared the basalt of Summit Creek with my basalt of Discovery Creek, and plotted samples against an AFM diagram. To my untrained eye, it seems to be a good match. Is the basalt of Summit Creek the same as the basalt of Discovery Creek? At least 2 of my 6 samples were from dikes, and 2 of the others may be. I'd still like to get your spidergram data and just get confirmation that we have another equivalent to the basalt of Summit Creek. So Daryl sent by email to a number of us some of the dikes of the basalt of Discovery Creek. Basalt of Discovery Creek. This is in the Goat Rocks area. It's in the Goat Rocks area, but we're now older than the Ohanapecosh. We're at the stuff below the Ohanapecosh. And we're starting to look at basalts that are candidates for that block of basalt that was in the Ohanapecosh. The point that I'm trying to get to is that Daryl is sending data to Jeff Tepper. He's sending data to Hannah Shamloo. This is a freaking spidergram, man. What do you think, everybody? Is this an arc magma or not? Students, do you remember the general look of spidergrams? Of arc magmas versus break-off belt magmas? Students, do you remember that if you have a break-off belt magma, you do not have a tantalum niobium depletion valley? And if you have an arc magma, as Chris Mattinson helped us understand last time, that we are going to have a niobium tantalum depletion valley because that niobium and tantalum stays in the eclogite. Look at daddy. So my point is there's discussion and even work comparing different expertise between the field data and the field mapping that Daryl Gussie has and his expertise and Jeff Tepper's expertise and Hannah Shamloo's expertise, and perhaps there's other involved in this discussion as well. That's a break-off belt, baby. That is a break-off belt. That niobium is not a valley. So you're like, so what? I'm losing it. We're taking an old basalt that possibly was the chunk in the Ohanapecosh that we just looked at, that was the basalt of Discovery Creek, that is a new addition to the break-off belt magma because of a collaboration that's happened unofficially in the last couple of weeks because of this program and these series of programs. That's fun for me, and maybe you can see the benefit as well. I forget how to read this, skip it. So yes, Daryl Gussie, Jeff Tepper, Hannah Shamloo collaborating in real time in the last few days, and Daryl is now, hasn't published on this yet, of course, because they've just had a bunch of emails in the last 3 days. He's starting to think that he has the data to say that the basalt of Discovery Creek, which is underneath the Ohanapecosh, is correlative and is another break-off belt correlative with the basalt of Summit Creek. And remember, the basalt of Summit Creek also had a rhyolite of Summit Creek. So if this is bimodal, is there a rhyolite of Discovery Creek lurking nearby? Thanks, Daryl, for watching the episodes and being engaged to this point. Okay, now I'm definitely scrambling because I realized I have one more clip from the Sunrise Road, and I wanted to read a little bit from Fisk. So I jumped the gun because my slides are scrambled. Now that I can see, yes, I want to do this. This is how we'll finish today. I want to read a little bit of more detail from the Richard Fisk paper that we introduced last time. It is a dynamite paper, even though it's 60 years old. Plus, I'm just going to read looking at you now. Ohanapecosh Formation. The only ash flow seen in the measured section of the Ohanapecosh is 40 feet thick and is exposed near the top of Backbone Ridge. It contains abundant and aligned pumice lapilli and scattered phenocrysts of quartz, plagioclase, and potassium feldspar. It is similar to the rhyodacite ash flows that form a large part of the overlying Stephen Ridge Formation, which I think is now lumped into the Fifes Peak. Highly welded ash flows, devoid of quartz phenocrysts, crop out on the southeast slope of Buell Peak, along the Cascade Crest near the head of Panther Creek. You're like, what are you doing? I'm setting you up for a couple of things down the road, but I also want to set up this last clip we're going to look at, okay? Rhyolite flows are also scarce in the Ohanapecosh Formation within Mount Rainier National Park. Just east of Indian Bar, however, a lens of light buff rhyolite, 300 feet thick and 2 miles long, crops out in a north-south trending belt. This is rhyolite within the Ohanapecosh. It's a formation. The rhyolite shows contorted flow banding and spherulites. Originally, it contained phenocrysts of plagioclase with an extremely glassy base, but metamorphism has altered the phenocryst to albite and transformed the glassy base into an intergrowth of quartz, albite, okay. All right. So these guys back in the 60s are looking at these outcrops. They're naming it the Ohanapecosh for the first time, and they're asking interesting questions. I want to continue. Origin. This is 1963, and I'm not sure we've gone any further in this discussion about the origin of the Ohanapecosh and the volcanic centers that produced all this volcanic material. I think it's maybe time for somebody to tackle the source, the vents, the detail about where all this Ohanapecosh stuff is coming from, this green stuff we're talking about today. The origin of the Ohanapecosh poses several problems in 1963. The most important is the source of the tremendous volume of tuff breccia and interstratified, thin-bedded volcaniclastic rocks. The lava flows and coarse mud flows in the Ohanapecosh are relatively minor in volume and are clustered near the centers of volcanism. Did these same volcanic centers supply the more widespread, finer-grained debris? And if they did, how was it transported from the vents? And in what kind of depositional environment was it eventually accumulated in such quantity? I don't think anybody's tried to answer these questions in the last 65 years. Most of the volcaniclastic rocks in the Ohanapecosh were probably deposited in water, says Dick Fisk and Aaron Waters in 1963, although broad areas within the basin may have been dry land for brief periods. The lava flows in the Mount Wow and Sarvent lava complexes do not show pillow structures, but some of the flows are splintered and shattered, as might be expected if they had been erupted underwater. The depth of the water was certainly variable during Ohanapecosh time. Last thing, the most spectacular physiographic feature in the Sarvent lava complex is South Cowlitz Chimney, a prominent spire soaring 500 feet above its immediate surroundings. This pinnacle is composed of flow-banded rhyolite. The banding is contorted but generally stands at high angles. As this mass is clearly a plug in one of the Sarvent vents and consists of rock very similar to many of the felsite fragments in the Ohanapecosh clastic rocks, it may well mark the source of part of the fragmental debris. 5 other vents have been mapped in and near the Sarvent area. The remaining other centers of volcanism, some of them outside of the park and perhaps others not exposed at the present erosion surface, have doubtless contributed to the debris in the Ohanapecosh Formation. Volcanic vents are probably present in the Mount Wow lava complex, though none have been positively identified. Okay, the main message there is there's all sorts of detail laid out on a silver platter, and there's dozens of questions laid out on a silver platter. In 1963, who's willing to look into this? I think it's interesting. Maybe some young geologists watching this will be motivated to do that. And then again, the most broad question today, think of what's happening at the same time up north. Up north there at Chilliwack. Magmatic flare-ups in the Chilliwack batholith. Last clip, let's go.
Yeah, it is, because that's, what was that lake? Is that Sunrise Lake? And now we're like right in here. And the color scheme is frustrating to me. I love the map, but why isn't this all green, man? Why wouldn't you color all the Ohanapecosh green? Because the rocks are frickin' green. Whatever. I'm going to color the entire Ohanapecosh green. And if there's different units within the Ohanapecosh, I'm going to find different shades of green. But green has to be the Ohanapecosh. Come on, let's not overthink it. And so yes, the Fisk had these three colors within the Ohanapecosh. He did have some green, which are basaltic andesite flows and coarse mud flows. He did have a little bit of rhyolite, orange, and the gray is a bunch of volcanic breccia, sandstone, siltstone. Again, everything's down at sea level 30 million years ago. And you can see how much of the eastern half of Mount Rainier National Park is Ohanapecosh. So cross-section A to A prime is A to A prime. And cross-section B to B prime is B to B prime. What do I want to show you? With B to B prime, I mainly want to show you the South Cowlitz Chimney and the Double Peak as these important vents from 30 million years ago. And they're frickin' right over here. I don't know which one is Double Peak, but I think I have learned from the kiosk that that's the chimney, the South Cowlitz Chimney. So I find it wild that 30 million years later, we have a jagged skyline with two vents that are thumbs. We're back to the thumb idea that I commented on with Kelly Wall in the Goat Rocks. Those thumbs really are topographic highs? Those vents are really topographic highs? I guess so. I find that surprising and really, really cool.
Hey man, there's no way those two little thumbs are responsible for 15,000 feet of Ohanapecosh that stretches from Stevens Pass down to the Columbia River Gorge. Right? All right. Before we go to your live questions, let me let you know what's about to happen in the next episode. I still have a good 20, 30 minutes to go with material involving Aaron Donaghy and Rob Vians and others, and even looking in the Wenatchee area at some little scraps of things that kind of fit nicely into thinking regionally. But as promised, today was focused on the Mount Rainier area and getting introduced formally to the Ohanapecosh Formation, the green rocks that most people blow right through. It's time for some live question and answer from you. Get your uppercase ready, please, and see if we can't answer a few questions before we quit here today. I don't know if we still have Jeff Tepper or Aaron Donaghy or any other experts that we had here today. I see Gary Paul is here. I saw Jamie McDonald was here briefly, maybe the full time, but I think he just took off. So nice to have so many geologists watching live. And then again, as I've said a number of times recently, to have so many geologists watching in replay and then contacting me, you make this whole thing much more rich than it otherwise would be. Paul, in a future chapter, please explain where the Juan de Fuca plate fits in with the... Yeah, okay, thank you. Let me show you that quick. I had that lined up. On that plot in Emily Mullen's paper, Emily Mullen and her team, including Jeff Tepper, they're talking a lot about which ocean plate is offshore and the rate, the speed at which the plate is subducting into the trench. And so I'm just starting to think about that. Thank you, Paul. I think they're basically, let me read it. The gray line, the fat gray line, is the convergence rate of the Farallon plate system, which doesn't necessarily mean the Farallon plate. It could mean the Explorer plate as well, with scale on the right. So this is the convergent rate in centimeters per year. And between, I don't know why they do it this way, but between 35 million years ago and today, the convergence rate of the subducting ocean plate going into the trench to fuel the subduction factory, the speed of my hand subducting is decreasing. And this is maybe just based on limited data, but we have these jumps. I don't know if that's real or not, but we slow the plate. The speed at which the ocean plate is diving into the trench is decreasing. And what can you say about volume of magma in the Chilliwack, for instance, red? What can you say about volume of magma as that convergence rate decreases? And how do you explain a 10 million year lull in the Chilliwack? I mean, there's all sorts of problems, but thank you, Paul, for the spirit of your question. I probably didn't answer it directly, but I don't know. We might get into that Explorer plate thing, which I don't know anything about. Looking for uppercase. Robert, did you come across any lacustrine marine deposits when you were filming the Ohanapecosh? I may have, Robert, but I didn't know how to recognize them. One of the major themes of our next episode on Thursday will be looking at marine and shallow, fresh bodies of water that are dominant in Washington during Ohanapecosh time, and lumping a bunch of formation names. Pat Miller, why are some plate boundaries subducting and others are sliding past each other? It's all about the plate vectors, Pat, and through time we know most of the history of these oceanic plates. So in my mind, if we have plates that are obliquely, they're kind of both moving in the same general direction, but there's a slight difference of opinion, then we can get some subduction. In other cases, I think that's what you're asking. Why are sometimes the plates just sliding past each other instead of subducting? And I think it's a function of scale. This is not going to be a satisfying answer, Pat. It's a function of scale. I don't know how to do that quickly. I'll think more about your question, Pat. Maybe I don't know how to answer it very well. Jeff Tepper exited the chat. Oh, exited the chat. Okay. He's taking care of his parents. His parents need him. Was there already clockwise rotation before the Straight Creek Fault shut off? Yes, I think the Paleomag, that didn't make today's show either. Maybe we'll do some Merle Beck Paleomag next time. The Paleomag shows clockwise rotation starting as soon as Silesia hits. So there's 15 million years of clockwise rotation before we shut off the Straight Creek Fault. Down to live. I just skipped down to live against my will. Patrick, could the Ohanapecosh have erupted into large paleo lakes? Sure. I think, as I understand it, both are happening. I think we have a large area experiencing Ohanapecosh eruptions, and just depending on where you are in that former map, are you offshore? Are you onshore? I think fresh, salt, water, rivers, I think all are possible to experience the wrath of the Ohanapecosh activity. But we don't have mountains. I guess that's the point. A bunch of you want to see the emails that came in, how many emails we got, and a couple of photos of people watching where they are. We'll do that in just a second. 3 more. Questions about the plates again. Mike, was the Kula Farallon spreading ridge dragging western Washington north and causing the strike-slip fault? I think it's possible, Mike. Skagit Ed was talking about something similar. I don't know how to do more with that. I'm interested that so many of you want to talk about the green M&M and the plates, the ocean plates. I didn't expect people to be that into that, and you guys definitely are. And here's Jim talking about the owl. That's another thing. The owl keeps coming up. Papagino, Ohanapecosh, 32 to 26. That's how we'll finish. Let me find in my... Thank you for playing along with the scrambled slides. Last slide we will look at is one last look at the updated color scheme, which certainly will continue to be updated. Each time I show something like this, I think of my students. And this has been going on for 40 years in my teaching career. You're writing something on a chalkboard, and then you're like, and everybody's taking their notes, and then you go, oh, wait, no, oh, I need to change this. And everybody in the room for the last 40 years goes, like they're so put out that they just wrote something down and now they have to change it. I find that fascinating. It's like, it's that same sound. Not every person, but like there's that groan always. And they're serious. They're not doing it in a mocking tone. So you might groan the next time you tune in, and I've got something different out here. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do some kind of pink up here. You're like, oh, I got to change this again. Well, you don't have to take notes. I will say that Hannah Shamloo, you remember her? It's been a while since we've talked about her. I brought her up a couple times today. She was away for Christmas break and did not watch, and she's slowly getting caught up. But she wanted to take notes. She said, I'm not going to watch these things unless I can take notes. And I just liked the image of such a brilliant young scientist, new to Washington still. She's starting her 4th year here. She's got her Mead spiral notebook and her purple gel pen, or I don't know what, and she's just getting all this stuff down. Purple gel pen. So, Hannah, you're going to have to keep changing your color scheme if you got your colors going. Of course you have a purple gel pen. You're purple. You're the Goat Rocks. Unless you don't like the color purple, which we should talk about that. Thank you, Hannah. A toast to you. Here's to the owl, the Olympic Wallowa lineament, which we will continue to ignore because we don't understand what it means. More importantly, here's to you. Thank you for watching today's episode, live or in replay. Here's to your health, your physical health, your mental health, and the health of everyone in your family. Your grandparents, your parents, your children, your grandchildren, everyone in your family. Here's to them. A quick reminder that it will be a few days before we get back together. And I think it's official. We have another green show coming on Thursday, January 30th at noon Pacific time. And we'll probably transition from green into red. Because as you know, red are a bunch of plutons and lavas that we will be in red for quite some time. And we may be bouncing back and forth. That's the new plan, right? Bouncing back and forth between colors. And I'm quite confident that 26 million years ago will be the beginning of red time. But I don't really know if those are numbers that we will stick with. So I'll see you in 5 days. And here you are at the very end of this episode. And what did I promise before we quit, even though we're probably at the 2-hour mark? In the pre-show, before we started today, I asked the viewers who were interested in playing along to try an experiment to email me and take a picture of me wearing this shirt on their screen, whether it's a big screen TV in their living room or a laptop or an iPad or an iPhone or whatever, and just to see how many emails we get with photos and locations of where people are viewing this program around the world. So let's just try this. I warned you I was going to do this publicly, right? So you're not going to be upset if I open your email and we can see your stuff. One text from my mother. Okay. Let's keep that off screen. All right. We have 47 emails that have come in since the beginning of the episode. And let me just show you a few. I think this is Rachel in Plain, Washington. 5 miles north of Plain. There's the navy blue shirt. Thank you, Rachel. Fair Oaks, California. Oh, we need a photo, man. Come on, William. Oh, is this a mix? Yeah, we always do the location ones. Oh my God, I need the photo, you guys. Tom from Maple Valley, thank you. Watching on his laptop. Paul in Lake City, Seattle, Washington. Thank you. This is really fun to see these things. Robert freezing his butt off in Florida. Thank you, Robert. This really tickles me. I know it seems like I'm just a narcissistic asshole, but I somehow seeing this on, is that an iPad or a Kindle or something? I love this. I don't know where you are, Christine. Let's do a few more. Yeah, I was hoping to get locations as well. So bonus points. So Sabers in Baja. Thank you. Seattle. I'm hoping for a couple. Oh, there we go. See, this is the kind of thing I was looking for. Yeah, thanks. Like some sort of. Okay, this is going to date me. I don't think I was a huge Phil Collins fan or so mainstream, but he was so popular in the 1980s. Do you remember a video when we all used to watch MTV in the late 80s? I had a problem. I watched MTV too much. It would just zone out, and I should be doing my geology homework. I would just watch video after video after. Do you remember Do you remember the Phil Collins video called Take Me Home or something like that? And he was on a world tour, and through the video, he was singing his song, and he would have all these well-known global landmarks behind him, like the Opera House in Sydney, and then the Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, and whatever, Eiffel Tower. Do you remember that video? I love that video just because there was that kind of cool, I don't know, I just love that video. That's what, who is this? Fernando's got the idea. I like the some kind of setting like this really brings it home. I'm having too much fun. There's too many to go through here. Minneapolis, thank you. That's the assignment. Location, where you are viewing, Tacoma, Washington. Oh my God, so you're working on your music project at the same time, Paul. Nice. North Central Indiana. It's fun to see. Thank you everybody for doing this. Let's come up to live. Bruce. Yeah, a little shout out the window. Here we go. Yeah, I got my eyes closed in the Netherlands. Thank you, Ben. So if you feel like you want to participate in this, I'm getting greedy now, but I think I want to show this in some form at some point where I'm trying to communicate, again, how unique this live stream thing is, because most people don't even understand what a live stream is. I've already said this a few times over the years. They don't even get what it is. And then I can say, yeah, people watch from all over the world, and I can just see a look in their eyes like, I don't believe you, or like, what? Or how are they watching? It just doesn't, it's not, I'm not asking them to go, wow, really? I don't need that. But I think this would do it. If I showed all sorts of photos, yeah, William's got a second crack at it now. Yeah, William, yeah, you're in Fair Oaks, California. I think if I showed a bunch of these photos here, Michael in Belgium. Oh God, okay. I don't know why I didn't think about this before. Oh, okay. You got the Golden Gate Bridge? Oh, you're in bed? Oh Lord. Okay, we could have some interest. Okay. Thank you for playing the game. If you feel like you're watching this in replay and you still want to be part of this, I already have plenty of what I need, but if you feel like you want to contribute, some kind of photo where it's this, I guess you'd be watching in replay, so you'd see this same shirt and everything, a la Phil Collins 1987. But there's some kind of this shirt with the screen, and then there's something in the backdrop or something that makes it clear that you're watching in Brazil or you're watching in New Zealand or something. Do you kind of know what I mean? Just visually, you could say, oh, wow, this person's outside. This person's taking a walk. Like I guess if you staged it, that'd be kind of phony. But if you like, obviously I'm into this idea. I'm going extra long. Like if you had this shirt on an iPad or a phone and it's next to the ocean crashing, or another one I show and it's in the desert, and another one I'm showing in some sort of urban setting. I'm getting greedy now. Okay. Thank you for watching today. Hope that you enjoyed this one. And we will continue with the Oligocene, I guess. I don't even know what that is, but it's some time frame that means nothing to me. But we're in this time frame that is important to us. And we have cranked up the subduction zone. We've cranked up the Cascade Volcanic Arc. But we're looking for changes within the volcanic arc's history. And one of the big changes I think we've at least flirted with today, a massive Chilliwack magmatic flare-up at the same time that there's a massive set of submarine and near-shore eruptions of the green Ohanapecosh Formation. Thanks, everybody. I love you, and we'll see you on Thursday, January 30th at high noon Pacific time. Goodbye. Oh, yeah. Zoom out. $161 emails in the last hour. I'm going to look at a couple more before I sign off. Ashley Hall. It's fun to look at these. Yeah, I think I'm looking for the outdoor ones. Here we go. Like, Ernest. Like, it's freezing in Connecticut. That kind of thing. And then the next slide I would show would be the same black shirt, but it'd be in the middle of a tropical thing. Okay, I think you get it. Very fun. Yes, Sauber. Sauber's got it now. He cannot stop. He cannot stop the stream. Leslie. Good. Good. And we're getting somewhere. This is fun. I'm having a blast. Right. Oh, God. Glenn in Battleground down by Portland. Look at that view. Got the dogs. Got the fire. That's a nice shot, Glenn. Thank you. One more. Emails, people apologizing they don't have a photo. It's like, okay. Oh, look. Yep, yep. Here's a winner. Emerciana Bertrand, Paris Subway. You win. I need to send you. I need to send you some Skittles. Nice job. I love that. That's how we're finishing. Thank you. I love you in the Paris subway. That is so frickin' cool. Oh, it makes my day. That is delightful. All right, I gotta go. Thank you, everybody. Au revoir. That's French. Too much fun.